We cannot afford to believe that helping white women achieve parity with white men means that someday white mainstream feminist ideals will reflect our needs. What's up, y'all? As you can see, I am back in Vancouver and it is time to rock and roll. In case any of you guys were wondering, August and September and even July were very chaotic months. Like August was a wild ride and September was a continuing until school started, and I was just like slammed with all this work that I had to do. And I was home for those few months as well. And when I'm home, I just really want to be present with my family. All of that said and done, we're back, we're here. And in today's video, I want to talk about something that I've been seeing circulating on the internet that I have a couple opinions on that I want to share with y'all. So let's get into it. So about a year ago, I remember seeing this TikTok page go viral and show up on my feed multiple times. And it's this page called Ballerina Farm, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. It's run by a woman named Hannah Neelman, who basically lives on a farm. At the time she had 7, now she has 8 children. And she makes videos of her cooking these homemade meals, similar to Nara Smith, but very cottage core, and just living this very beautiful, very picturesque life of being a traditional wife. And so the way social media works came a new trend, which was the trad wife and the cottage core aesthetic. And it's basically this idealized version of what it's like to be a mother, what it's like to be a traditional wife at home, taking care of your kids and your husband, living far away from the city and the hustle and the bustle, and just being super down to earth and living a simple lifestyle. It seemed like the most peaceful, loving, calm kind of life that anybody would want to live. And a lot of people expressed that they wanted to or aspired to live a life like Hannah Neelman's. So Hannah Neelman is no small TikToker. She's got like, I think 7 million followers, and a lot of people are really intrigued by her aesthetic, by her life. And so a journalist named Megan Agnew actually interviewed Ballerina Farm, or Hannah Neelman, and her family, and want to go in and see what's really going on. What does this family life look like behind the scenes? Now, Megan Agnew is not just a reporter or an interviewer for a magazine. She's a journalist. So she's not just going in to interview this girl for fun. She's going in with a point to prove or to uncover what's really happening. And so what she discovered, as she wrote in her now viral article, was that the interview that she was trying to do with Hannah was actually hijacked by her husband, whose name is Daniel Neelman, and shall I mention, is actually the son of the owner of JetBlue Airlines. So very, very wealthy man, meaning him and his wife and his family are very, very wealthy. And he essentially kind of took over the interview, and every time he would ask Hannah a question, he would answer for her. Agnew was really interested in Hannah's life before having this family. She used to be a student. She's a graduate from Juilliard, which, if you don't know, is the most prestigious Ivy League arts institution that you could go to. And she wanted to be a ballerina in New York City. And now she lives on a farm with this big family. So what was the transition there? And the entire time, Megan Agnew was saying how her husband just kept butting in and answering for Hannah. And Hannah would kind of just agree with everything that he was saying. So in her article, she essentially said that it feels like this whole Ballerina Farm TikTok account and aesthetic and life that they're putting out is really just all ran by Hannah's husband, and Hannah's kind of just like the puppet in the mix. It also kind of shed light on how she doesn't fully think that Hannah is happy with this life that she's living. And she pointed out how Hannah had said that they don't have any maids on their farm, and that sometimes the stress of taking care of the entire farm and all her kids is so overwhelming and overbearing for her body that she has to take about a week to recover. So once this article came out, the internet had one of 2 reactions. One, people were either pissed the off that Megan went in and made this article that essentially felt to them like they were bashing Hannah Neelman. And on the other hand, a lot of people had so much sympathy for Hannah. All of a sudden, she went from being someone that people were aspiring to be to someone that people thought needed saving. I mean, I'm seeing countless TikToks on my For You page of people being like, she deserved to be a ballerina in New York City. She deserved to go and live her best life in New York, and basically like reposting videos or clips of her dancing on her farm and showing all this sympathy towards the fact that she didn't end up becoming a ballerina and that instead she is a wife and a mother. On top of that, it doesn't really help that I think just before this article came out, or maybe just shortly after it came out, I saw this video too because it actually showed up on my For You page. Hannah and her husband basically made a video where she's opening up this birthday gift that he got her. And I will say this video did rub me the wrong way for multiple reasons, but we're not going to get into that just yet. As she's trying to open this box, which isn't even wrapped, she keeps saying, I hope these are tickets to Greece. I hope these are tickets to Greece. And he just keeps ignoring that she's saying that. And by the time she's done opening it and she's opened the gift entirely, it's an egg apron. And she's like, oh my God, thanks for the egg apron. Even though she kept mentioning that she wanted to go to Greece, and that was clearly what she really wanted. And her husband's like, you're welcome. And of course, this video also got people talking up a storm about how she deserves better. She should leave her husband. She never deserved to be cooped up in this cage. And that she was basically a bird whose wings got cut because she ended up being the wife of this really wealthy man who got her pregnant 8 times and now just expects her to cook, clean, and take care of his kids. So now that I've given you guys a fantastic summary of all of that, I personally think that Hannah Neelman does not deserve this overflow of sympathy from the internet. I'm sorry. The reason why I say that is because of a couple of reasons. So let's get into the first one. So before I start this video, I just want to preface by making this very clear. I'm not a hater of Hannah Neelman. I don't think that she deserves any hatred, and I do not think that she deserves to be bashed for any of the reasons that I'm about to point out. My first point, which is that the rich and the wealthy do not suffer from the patriarchy in the same way that us everyday women do. Let's go back to the fact that Hannah Neelman is married to a man who is worth millions of dollars, right? That means her and her kids, her family are worth millions. She lives on a huge farm. She's making bank off of her TikTok. She is up there. She is very influential. She's one of the biggest influencers right now. So she's making hella money off of not just the fact that her husband is the heir of a multi-million-dollar business, but her own business herself. So given the fact that she's so well off means that she's got a lot of resources to get her out of any position that she doesn't want to be in. For example, if she, for whatever reason, wanted to leave her husband, she absolutely could. Yes, it would be difficult. And yes, it would be hard to watch and even worse for her to experience, probably. But she wouldn't suffer from a financial deficit. She wouldn't be down bad on money because she has her own money. She comes from a lot of money. So she can leave that relationship knowing that she's still financially secure, which is one of the major reasons why a lot of women cannot leave their abusive partners, because they depend on them financially. And that's not the case for Hannah Neelman. On top of that, her being someone who is worth so much money, if she really wanted to, she could hire multiple maids to help her raise her kids. And I'm sure she does. They said in the interview that they don't have maids, but I don't buy it. I do think that they have help and support around the house. They just don't call them maids. And given that they're also Mormon and they live in a Mormon community, I'm sure the community collectively is always helping out in some way, shape, or form. Like, I think that's just how Mormonism works. You don't just raise your kids individually, they are raised by the community. So I do think that she does get a level of help regardless. But what I'm also getting at is that if she wanted to get maids, she absolutely could. She's got the funds to. Whereas other women, everyday average women who have not even 8 kids, 3 kids, 2 kids, are struggling to balance all the other responsibilities that they have on top of motherhood, and then don't have any support with their kids because they cannot afford daycare, they cannot afford childcare, they cannot afford to have a maid in the house. So it's really funny to me that we feel so much for this woman and the amount of kids that she has, when there are everyday average women who do have kids that they are struggling to take care of, because they don't just have to be mothers, they also have to be breadwinners. They also have to go out there and work and make money so that their families can actually survive. On top of that, there is so much happening in the world. So much is going on to women in particular. We are seeing women getting brutalized in Congo, in Gaza for the past year, in Sudan for the past year. And these are stories that are absolutely heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. And yet there is not nearly enough conversation about these feminist issues in regards to these women. And that's what really ticks me off, because I'm like, damn, we are really seeing women struggle amongst so much real life adversity that is inflicted on them from the patriarchy, from men. And yet we have little to say about that. Feminists have little to say about that. And I do recognize that in a lot of ways, it is easier to feel more connected or more sympathy for Hannah Neelman just because she's in closer proximity to us. Her being American, her being from the West, a lot of us in the West can see ourselves in her to a degree because she's a US citizen. And so it feels like, you know, she is this depiction of an American woman. If she suffers from the patriarchy, that means all the rest of us are screwed as well. But again, I want to remind all of us that no, she's actually so far above the rest of the average everyday American, Canadian, Western world women. She is, again, very wealthy, very well off. She is a white woman. And to add to that point, I do believe that the media has constantly fed us this narrative that white women are the best of the best, that they are the most pure, they are the most innocent, and therefore they are the most deserving. And subsequently, that has led the rest of us to be desensitized to women in our own communities' suffering and struggles. We do not look at other women and think, oh my goodness, I wish better for you. I wish there was more opportunity for you. I wish there was more out there for you. When I look at conversations about women who have found themselves, women of color in particular, who have found themselves in particularly difficult situations with men, they're always the one that are blamed. It's never, oh, he should treat her better. She should leave him because she deserves better. It's constantly, why did you pick him? Why did you choose him? Why would you do that? Why would you do this? The dialogue is very, very different. I have a good feeling that if Hannah Neelman was a woman of color, if she was a Black woman, if she was a Latina woman, if she was a South Asian woman, whatever you be it, we would not be as upset as we are to see that her husband got her an apron for her birthday. It's just something we would accept as normal. It's what we deserve. The best we can do. And my next point is that I think women have got to start to believe in other women's authority and ability to make their own decisions. Every time the internet has an opinion about a woman and her relationship or her life choices, we constantly think that what we are suggesting is what she absolutely should have done, and that whatever decision she has made, she is so miserable in making it. We constantly have an opinion about other women's life choices. And we got to start to understand that as much as it's great to give your best advice to someone who you think needs it, a grown woman can do what she wants to do and will do what she wants to do. And sometimes you just gotta trust that she knows what she's doing, which is why I also believe that Hannah Neelman is actually happy in the decision that she's made for her life, which was to give up her dream to become a ballerina and instead get married and live on a farm and raise her children. I do believe that that is the choice that she is happiest to have made, and she is still happy in it. Are there probably days where she's absolutely miserable and hates her life? Yeah, and the rest of us feel that same way too, even if we are pursuing what we really love. We all have our off days where we're like, ugh, I hate this shit, I don't want to do this anymore, like da da da. We all have those days, but I truly do think that this woman is happy. People look at Hannah as if she is this woman who had these huge dreams and ambitions, but they were cut short due to traditional values that were forced upon her, but they weren't forced on her. She chose this life. She chose to marry this man, knowing that this was the life that he wanted, and probably because she wanted that life too. I don't think you guys realize how difficult it is to become a ballerina. Like being a ballerina is serious work. It is, to me, and I think anyone who knows anything about ballet can agree, is literally the same as being a professional athlete. It is so much on your body, and you have to be the best of the best of the best. There's crazy competition. And I even saw a woman make a TikTok who was saying similar things to me, which is that this woman is happy, leave her alone. She was expressing how to be a ballerina, you literally have to give your all. It's the only thing you can be focused on to achieve that goal of being a performing ballerina, which means by the time you have a career and you're able to have kids, your body isn't necessarily ready to do that anymore. A lot of women cannot have kids anymore as ballerinas because either their body has given up, or they're past that point in their life where they can have kids. It's one of those life choices that takes up your entire life. And I think Hannah just realized that as much as she loves ballet with her whole heart, that she doesn't want her entire life to be engulfed by it. And on top of that, Hannah is not just a trad wife. She really isn't. She's not just having babies and taking care of this husband and taking care of these kids. She literally is a business owner and a pageant queen. She's a boss babe, if that's what you want to call it. She has this TikTok business. It's her thing. She's the face of it. Even if she's working on it with her husband, she is the face of it. It's opened so many opportunities for her. She's able to do so many cool things because of this platform that she has. She has got a business behind her. Without her, it wouldn't exist. And so again, we need to trust that this woman chose the life that she chose because it's the life that makes her the happiest. And truly, she's living such a particularly privileged and exciting life because she can do both. She can have 8 kids and have a husband and cook in a cottage and then also own a business and do do businesswoman related things. And I do think, of course, that to present this life, she's got to make it look a lot more fun than it is. But I will say that if there ever was a moment where she really truly wanted to give this up and do something else, all the tools are around her. She's got every avenue open to her to help her elevate her life in whatever way that means to her. You and I, though, we don't got that privilege. Social media is a very difficult place to have conversations about feminism because the definition of feminism is a constant battle. It's not even a conversation, it's a constant battle. 1 minute, if you're a traditional wife and you're taking care of kids and you've got a husband, you're living your best life. You're in your femininity. That's what you should be doing. You should let a man take care of you financially. You should just sit back. And if you're having kids, focus on them and do that and have your home cooked meals and have your life at home. And then just as fast, we switch the script and it becomes, if you are not independent, having a career, doing your own thing and not attached to a man, then you are finished. You're screwed. If you're not having a man pay all your bills, then you're not in your feminine energy. But if you do have a man paying all your bills, then you're not independent and he could easily leave you with nothing. It's like, what is it? What do we want? What do we want to preach? What's the best way to go about life as women? Can I live? At the end of the day, I think in any kind of conversation, people online need to realize that humans are the most complex species on earth. That is not even, like, I'm not a STEM student. That's just basic knowledge. So what works for me might not work for you. And what I preach, I could say with my whole chest. I could literally tell you that this is the best piece of advice that I could possibly give you. And if you follow it, you're going to be happy. And I could believe that with my whole heart. And then it could not serve you at all. Obviously, sometimes people need to have realistic conversations that are hard to hear. And I think some words of advice are necessary to give to women just so that we can make more informed decisions. But at the end of the day, those decisions have to also be left to every woman at their own discretion to make. And I would really like to see us start to have conversations regarding women's rights and regarding womanhood that actually include all women, that include women as a whole, the everyday average woman, not particularly wealthy A-list celebrities and influencers and people who have a lot of money and opportunity that the rest of us will never have access to. This is why it also really frustrates me when people put Taylor Swift at the front of feminism and coin her as a feminist. The woman is not a feminist, bro. She has not said a goddamn thing about the woman in Congo, Gaza, Sudan. And not even that, has she said anything about the women in the US who are struggling and suffering because of poverty, because of a lack of reproductive rights? Like, has she spoken for the rest of y'all? No. I do remember, for example, when Taylor Swift was groped by a DJ at a party and she was so upset and there was a whole conversation. And I really do think that that conversation was important to have because, yeah, if Taylor Swift, of all women, a celebrity, an A-list celebrity, is getting touched inappropriately at a club by a DJ, that speaks to a lot of women. A lot of us have experienced things like that. But if we're going to have those conversations, we need to have that conversation, not just because, oh my goodness, it happened to Taylor Swift, but because, oh my goodness, yeah, now this is an opportunity to talk about the fact that it's happening to women all around the world. Like, here is this celebrity who, whatever she does, people are always documenting. Now that you've documented something like this, let's talk about it in greater context. Let's talk about it and what it means to women all around the country, the world. Okay, I want to end this video by quoting this book that I've mentioned before in my previous videos because I love it. I think it's so phenomenal. And it's a book that really touches on intersectionalities in feminism. So it's, let me get it right here. This book that was given to me by my dear friend Noura, and it's called Hood Feminism. I'm going to read you guys a quote from this book because I think it's phenomenal and it really explains exactly what I'm trying to get at. So this is from the chapter, Solidarity is for White Women. It's not silencing or bullying or toxic to refuse to make anyone else's comfort more important than our lives or the lives of our children. We're not here to be mammy or whatever other convenient archetypes movies like The Help often reinforce. We're not supporting characters in feminism, and we can't afford to wait for equality to trickle down to us eventually. We cannot afford to believe that helping white women achieve parity with white men means that someday white mainstream feminist ideals will reflect our needs. 100+ years of history and day-to-day life teach marginalized women every day that making it easier for white women to become CEOs isn't the same as making life easier for all women. So instead of losing your goddamn minds about the fact that a wealthy white woman who's worth millions of dollars didn't get to become a ballerina and instead chose to get married and have children with her husband on a huge plot of land in Utah, we should really focus on motherhood for women of color and marginalized women and what that looks like for us, and how a lot of mothers are struggling to pay bills, to afford basic needs for their babies because it's not affordable in the States or Canada anymore. A lot of women in marginalized communities are finding themselves in abusive relationships, being constantly abused by their partners because they do not have the avenues to leave that relationship, even if they wanted to. Women around the world are still getting forced into child marriages. There are just way too many more serious conversations to be happening around feminism than the ones that we constantly choose to talk about. And if we want to have all this sympathy for a woman like Hannah Neelman, then let's not paint it off as a feminist issue. It's not a feminist issue. It's a particular situation for a particular woman, one that most of us, many of us, the majority of us cannot relate to. That's my spiel. But let me know if there's anything in this video that you agree with, that you disagree with, what your opinions are, if they're similar, if they're different. Comment all of that down below. Make sure to like this video. And if you have not subscribed already, what is you doing, bro? Get to it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, for listening, for hearing my opinions, for commenting here and there, for all of it. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.